us now.
Come on. We're live. It says we're live.
Can you guys hear us now? Anybody out there?
Let's see.
Looks like we're getting an ad, so that's something.
Well, Gucci at least commented and told people what's happening.
Okay.
So,
See if after this ad, if we start up.
yeah, please, oh please. Okay, she says we're on.
Oh.
Charlie says we're on. So.
Okay. Apologies. We were talking to nobody for a while, and we were being very charismatic and
For 5 minutes.
Yeah, we were
No responses.
saying we were gonna wait 5 minutes for people to get on, let alone we didn't know we were the ones that weren't on. So I'm glad we're here now. But I mean, this is our first time doing a live ever, so apologies for the technical difficulties. But we're here, and we gave everybody 5 minutes, including ourselves, to hop on. So I guess we can just get started. But shout out to where everybody's from. I want to kind of see who we're talking to and where around the world or where around the states everybody's at. Looks like we got Chicago, the Junk Drawer, Queens, New York, Tarley, Indianapolis.
Chicago, another.
Sweet. Cliffside, Zenhale, Argentina, Sebastian.
LA, Nigeria. Woo!
Okay, well, I guess since we got on a little late, without further ado, we'll just we'll get started. So first of all, just want to give a huge thanks to everybody who supported the channel thus far. It has been a ton of work, but man, hearing everybody's responses and how much everybody's enjoyed the channel so far has definitely given us some oomph to keep going. Just so we're not starting out in silence, I kind of want to address some questions that have already been sort of asked on the channel thus far. I feel really sad because we wanted to do a wheel of silence, so if there's any awkward silences and no questions, we could spin it, and we just didn't get ready. But that's the good thing about starting the bar so low, is it's only up from here. So
Next time we'll have it.
We'll have the wheel of silence. So anyways, one of the number one things I get asked is essentially how the channel came about into existence. So without going too much into detail, I'm just going to go over it really quick. Hopefully I can answer some questions along the way. But assuming you guys have seen episode 3, you already know our background in making music videos with our cousins. So I'm going to kind of pick up where that left off. So we made music videos with our cousins growing up, and then decided, okay, I don't know how to make a living doing this, because we came from a small farm town, and we had to learn how to be somewhat practical while still wanting to be creative. So I went the route of graphic design, and Jared went the route of animation, and we both went our respective ways and learned our respective crafts. And while I was in college, I sort of found motion design for the first time, and it was about when I was just about graduated, and I really fell in love with motion design because it was like, I can do graphic design, which I loved, and I really fell in love with graphic design. But I also could have a taste of some of the stuff we used to do, storytelling and things like that. And so, long story short, I got a job at Buck. And for any designers out there or anyone from Buck listening, shout out to Buck. They're one of the top studios in their game when it comes to motion design. And sort of worked my way from a designer to an art director. And for anyone listening who has found their way into leadership in the creative field, you end up finding most of your time in Google Slides at some point instead of in Illustrator or actually designing or creating. And so I started to get an itch to, get back. Well, it wasn't even so much an itch, it was as I was designing for these decks and presenting to clients, I had to kind of ask myself, is this, like, did I already make all my best stuff? Am I just like a deck designer now, essentially? And so, like you guys saw in episode 3, around that time when I was having this sort of crisis, my cousin passed away, and I decided I was going to do something about, sort of feeling creatively unfulfilled. At first, it was trying to pay the bills, and I was going to do graphic design tutorials. That was like my plan A. And then I started talking with Jared all the time in the car, like, oh, I want to teach this principle. What if I did it with this really like crazy concept or crazy idea? And I started falling in love with all these crazy concepts that I could kind of do at home. And so that sort of sparked this thinking of, well, if that's the part I'm really excited about, why don't I just swing for the fences and make the part I'm most excited about, which was the entertainment part of it. So that's how I kind of started thinking of making the series SuprOrdinary. Didn't start out with the ordinary at first, but as I started coming up with some ideas, I realized I didn't have any money or any time, and so I was going to start with what I had available, and thus I started the first episodes of SuprOrdinary. I started with Logan's Heroes, and it was just, I loved the place. When I was going to college, I knew Hamid. He was like the best guy. And so I was like, I really want to do this because I love Hamid. It wasn't even so much that Logan's Heroes was like the worst branding I'd ever seen, because it wasn't. But Hamid was one of the most deserving people I'd ever met. So I really wanted to do it for him, essentially. Come to find out, he had retired and everything, but I still, after having a conversation with him, I still wanted to do it. Anyways, so made episode 1. I wrapped Jared into it after he kind of saw what I was doing and talked him into going up in the mountains with me. So I did episode 1 and episode 2 sort of in tandem. That's why you see my hair start short and then kind of grow, because I went from episode 1 and then I went and filmed episode 2 and then came back to episode 1 and finished it. But so this is kind of where it gets a little interesting. We finished episode 1 and episode 2. All right. We finished episode 1 and episode 2, and in episode 1 there's a small little bit where I flashed through some of the projects I worked on at Buck, and I wanted to make sure it was okay I was using those projects and I wasn't going to get in trouble. So I showed somebody at my work, and they're like, okay, I'll make sure it's okay. It got passed around, and long story short, little did I know, it got passed around a lot of the leadership and made its way up to Ryan Honey, who's one of the founding fathers of Buck. And he said, I really want to make this show happen. How can we help you? And so now they've kind of been helping me try to spread the word, trying to give me a little bit of time to work on the episodes, and hopefully we can get Jared on board full time and make this thing happen. But right now we're kind of just in the trenches trying to make it work. And Buck and It's Nice That have been super supportive and trying to spread the word and share it. So that's kind of where we're at now. That's how it kind of got started, and that's sort of like Buck's and It's Nice That's involvement. We're still making the episodes 100%. We're shooting everything ourselves. Episode 1 and episode 2 is primarily just me shooting, editing, writing, doing everything all by myself. And then episode 3, I got some of Jared's help. And hopefully in the future we'll do more of like a 50-50 type deal. So, okay. That's background. That's how it got started. It looks like we have some questions.
Yep. All right, where do we want to start?
One question was, how much time did the first episodes take? And that was a hard one to say, because I was working on the episodes in the time before and after my full-time job at Buck, which was super exhausting. So doing those first 2 episodes took probably like a whole year to make, just because there was so little time I was able to work on them. So it's hard to say yet how long an episode takes, so I'll let you know when we get like a full swing at it. But for those first two, it seemed to take forever. I kind of bit off more than I could chew, and but I was loving what I was doing, so I just kind of kept going with it and chipping away at it.
All right. Here's a question somebody asked. Has anything changed for you since you started your YouTube channel?
I did get recognized at Costco by a guy, and I took a picture with him because he was like the first guy who ever approached me.
First fan.
But yeah, I mean, I get a ton of messages about opportunities, like possible partnerships and things like that. I'm trying to be very careful about how I move forward in the space, but so far no one has stalked our house, and I ask nobody to decide to now that I said that. But no, things haven't changed that much yet, but I feel like they will at some point.
Okay. Okay, another question.
I did get to go to Australia though, so that was like pretty freaking awesome. I guess that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Okay. Your videos look so expensive to make, time-wise, and I think they're asking, what things did you buy to make them possible? Or like what equipment
All right,
do you use?
Gear, I have a Sony a7 IV, and primarily I shoot everything on that. I have like a GoPro and a drone, obviously, for those other shots that you see in there. But pretty much everything's shot on the a7 IV for now.
Okay.
Yeah. Then I got a couple Amaran lights, and lighting. Just you can have an iPhone, and if you have good lighting, it can make all the difference. So if you're looking to invest in some gear, I think at least having one or two, if you can, lights. If you're just gonna shoot natural light, then that's even like a cheaper, better option. But you don't even need the nicest camera. I mean, everyone's gonna tell you this. You can shoot on an iPhone, and that's like they're plenty good. For me personally, I had a certain look I wanted. I wanted to learn how to color grade because episode 1 was sort of my first shot at like color grading. I just wanted to learn the filmmaking process a little bit more, so I got a camera that shot 10-bit and 4K and all that kind of stuff. But it's not a full-on cinema camera by any means, but I like it, and I like that it's nimble. So I don't know if I'd ever get a full-on cinema camera because I like to be able to take it around, and I hate filming in public. I get so much anxiety from it, and having a big old camera would make that even worse, I think.
All right. There's one that I see in the comments going along with that. How did you learn these filmmaking skills?
First of all, just want to say, Raul just like donated $5.
$5?
That's
Woo!
wasn't even asking for anything. So we will go get a sweet treat after this. A little ice cream.
Sweet.
So what was the question again? Sorry. Just wanted to say thanks.
So the question was, how did you learn these filmmaking skills?
They're not professional by any means. Again, a lot of it was as we were growing up, like you saw in episode 3, if you were able to watch it yet. We were just able to mess around, and I think because there was no YouTube at the time, we weren't afraid to experiment and try things, and we learned how to use green screen, and we had pirated software and things like that, and we learned how to edit. I think there was that part of it where we experimented, and then I think as I became a designer, I sort of got a sense of aesthetic, and then it was kind of like learning to combine the two. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Next question. Are you in charge of the full production, writing, shooting, and editing? How much time do you usually spend on each video?
Okay. I see in the comments there's some confusion. If I had said Sony FX4, I didn't mean it. I meant Sony a7 IV. That's the one I'm using. Anyways. What was the question again?
All right. Are you Are you in charge of the full production? Writing, shooting, editing. How much time do you usually spend on each video? So the first one's, are you in charge of the full production?
Yeah.
Like writing.
And we already kind of talked a little bit about how much time I spent on the video. All I know is it's a lot of time. But hopefully, as we keep going, we'll get a better idea of how long an episode takes. But anyways, what was the first part of the question again?
Are you in charge of the full production?
Yes. So episode 1, I did all the filming, all the editing, all the design, 100% everything on that one. Same thing with episode 2, except for Jared was there to help me create the final piece. And then in episode 3, I did everything again, except Jared was able to do that really awesome hair animation where it has the videotape thing and the little hair people come up. Jared basically lived in my garage for a little bit and did stop motion for that.
Yep.
So props to Jared on that one, because
it's very hard animating actual hair. It was actual hair that I was like pushing around. So
yeah, little thing, if you ever like thinking about doing anything with hair, it sucks because you get everything all perfect. So like when I made the SuprOrdinary title at the beginning, I got all the letters all nice, and then you're trying to like clean out the area, and all those hairs are intertwined, so you don't realize there's one hair that's like connected, and you pull it, and it just like ruins the whole thing. So it's stuff like that where you're like, I've never worked with hair, and then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is not easy.
All right, we got another donator, I think. Let's see.
Now we can both get our own ice creams, and we don't have to.
Yeah.
We don't have to Lady and Tramp it.
That was from Randall, so thank you.
Thank you, Randall,
for $5. Thank you. Okay. Next question.
I see one. Are you still working at Buck while you're making this series? Yes, I am right now. We'll see what happens in the future. As of right this moment, Buck has been trying to give me some time because it's got some traction and a lot of excitement. So Buck's trying to give me some time to work on it. So again, let's just shout out to Buck for supporting the project so far.
Okay. I hear you talk about SuprOrdinary being a series. Does this mean you have an end date to get out of YouTube?
What was that last part?
I think he was asking.
Oh, do I have an end date to get out of YouTube?
Do you plan on like?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess this talks a little toward what's like the future of SuprOrdinary. Right now, I'm really open to what that future is. There's one thing I do love about YouTube as far as it feeling a little like scrappy, and it's like the working man's Hollywood. I don't know what it is, but there's something like really special about it being a place where anyone can do anything. It's like the place of the American dream sometimes is what it feels like. If an opportunity came up to go to a streamer, I'd be very thoughtful about it, because one, I'm making a series that's all about creativity. And if they were asking me to give up creative control, that'd have to be like a big thing to consider. I do recognize there's like a whole nother audience to reach on a streamer than there is on YouTube. But when it comes, I also like the idea of creating more of a community on things like YouTube and Patreon. And I don't know how that community building works on a streamer. So I don't have an end date in mind. No, I'm just going to keep making these. And I have tons and tons of ideas, but I'm not opposed to opportunities, but I also just want to do. Ultimately, I see the big advantage of having a strong community, and I want to build that, and I want to make sure whatever step we take is like doing what's best for the SuprOrdinary community. So that's like answering it without necessarily answering it, but there's an answer.
Okay. I think everybody wants to see Kota.
Oh yeah, I was gonna bring Kota. He's probably sleeping in the tub. He does that a lot for some reason. He hops in the tub and falls asleep.
Whoa, he's gone.
Oh. So there was questions about Kota too, and how. So guess we never really said his name, but his name's Kota. He's a boy, and in the first episode, come here, bud. Come here. See if we can get him to. He doesn't like being manhandled, so come here. Oh, he's being such a good boy and sitting. Oh, okay, now he's laying down. Well, there he is. Look at all your fans, bud. Anyways, here, let me scoot forward again, bud.
Wonder if I bring him back here. If you can see, there he is.
There he is.
Hey.
In episode 1, when we were doing that like spinning shot, so this is a theme with me and Jared that if you ever work behind the scenes with us, you'll learn is we'll have an idea for a shot and we'll just decide to do it before really deciding how to do it, and which is kind of good. It makes us get creative, but we're like, yeah, let's go shoot that shot. And when we decided like, oh wait, how are we physically going to do this spinning around shot with Kota, because he's like a big dog. And so at the very end of episode 1, that's kind of what you saw, where I'm sitting in the chair and Kota's sitting on my lap and I have the GoPro and I'm like sitting behind him. That's how he got that looks like he was spinning around type shot. But he doesn't like to be manhandled, and so ever since then, whenever he sees me holding the camera and I say, come here, bud, he'll like go run and hide. And so now we have to use like a ton of treats to incentivize him. So episode 3, he was like the biggest diva, and all I had to do was sit there and we just gave him treats. But I think he's getting used to it, because all those shots with the where we have the yarn kind of covering his face, we couldn't get him to stop smiling, and we're like, Kota, you gotta like not enjoy this so much, because you're supposed to be scared and terrified. And I think he's just getting so used to it now, because now he just smiles the whole time. So it's getting harder and harder to get that like shot.
All right, we have a ton of questions, so apologies if we don't get to everybody's. We might have to pick a few. Okay, this is a good one. It seems like you ignored a lot of the YouTube rules when launching this series. Was there anything you intentionally broke, versus what choices did you make that was, what choices did you make and what was your reasoning for it? So YouTube breaking the rules.
I think one small advantage I had was, we grew up in the YouTube era, and meaning like as it was taking off, but I didn't necessarily consume YouTube a whole lot growing up, and even now, like as far as entertainment, I don't consume it that much. Now I'm trying to more. Now I'm trying to like familiarize myself, so I didn't necessarily have a real clear idea of what a YouTube video was. It wasn't until like not that long ago I like checked out Mr. Beast and some of the biggest ones just to like get a sense. But then again, it was one of those things where I was like, I think it was just ignorance. I didn't realize that people were making really great stuff. Like Yes Theory was one of the ones I found. I was like, oh man, like these are really touching, and this is just like, you get a lot of living vicariously through these guys and watching them do their thing. But again, it's not like I had a solid concrete idea in my head of what a YouTube video was. And so I kind of just, I found some things that I liked. I kind of did a mishmash of like, okay, I see when people talk, into the camera vlog style, it feels very, it feels very personal. It feels very authentic. It feels natural. And I like that. It doesn't feel too overly produced. But as a creator, I like nice shots and I like nice compositions, and as a designer I enjoy looking at those things. So I kind of wanted to make a mishmash of some of those things I just felt like were working. And I think this is just I guess good advice for anybody. People always say, oh, it's so important to have an aesthetic, especially with the rise of AI and all these things. That's one of the most important things you can have is good taste and good aesthetic. But in my opinion, that's one of the hardest things to like teach or to learn. Like, how do you learn good aesthetic. Seems like people either just have it or they don't. But one thing I'm like slowly learning, and I'm not sure how true this is or not, but a lot of my aesthetic comes from me seeing something that I like and then trying to break down what it is that I like about it. So for example, if you watch a Mr. Beast video and you watch it to the end, why did I watch that till the end? There's a lot of things that maybe aren't the greatest about it, but there's something there that I stayed the end for, and so what is it? And so it's taking those bits and pieces and deciding like, what is it that's working, and then okay, that's what worked for me, I'm gonna like adopt that, and then you kind of naturally create your own style and aesthetic, and it's just borrowing the things that have worked for other people.
Okay, we got another donation from Raul, so thank you, Raul.
So now I can take my wife out for ice cream, Raul. Thank you. The whole family's going out tonight.
Yes, thank you very much.
And he says, make merchandise with exclamation marks, which we have been looking into that. We're trying to just kind of wrap up this first batch of episodes, and then we're going to kind of dive into that stuff a little bit. But I really want to make sure it's like good, like something I would wear. I don't want to just like throw out stuff because I feel like someone's going to buy it. So stay tuned. That's in the mix, and we're going to try to make some good stuff.
Okay. Let's see. How do you balance your time to create good stuff while working full-time plus family? This person said, I got a second one coming, so a second baby coming in October, and I barely have any time.
Oh, man. I wish I was a better example of this because balance has been one of the biggest things I've been trying to figure out. I think starting this series, my whole goal is I want to have more freedom. I want to have freedom of time. I want to have freedom of like doing the things that I want to do. So this is like the way I'm going to do it. And then since I started, I feel like my balance has been way off. I obviously, like, my kids and wife, my relationship with them was the number one thing, and this was like number two, and then there was like no time for anything else. I like had no time to work out, not that I was before, but then I really wasn't. And even just doing some things that I regularly enjoy. But I did hear some good advice that I'm trying to follow, but I haven't done such a good job yet. I've heard that any free time you have, work will always fill all that time. And so you need to set aside time for the things that are important first, and then your work will always fill in all the gaps. So if exercise is important to me, or if taking my daughter out on a daddy-daughter date is important to me, I need to make sure that's in the schedule, and I'm going to do that, and let work fill in all the gaps. Because if I'm waiting for the time to go do those things, like if I'm like, okay, once I get done with this, then I'll go take my daughter on a daddy-daughter date, it'll just never happen because work never stops. So that's the part of like trying to fit in. First, prioritize the stuff that's most important to you. Make sure you make time for that, and then work will fill in the gaps. But if you're trying to start off a thing and you have a baby coming on the way, it's hard to say anything other than sacrifice is sometimes just the way you got to do it. I woke up early and I stayed up late to get things started. Now I'm finding a little bit more time, but that's just kind of the path of any like entrepreneur, I think, is having to push yourself just a little bit extra and hope that it pays off a little bit later.
Cool.
Just saw one that said, how did it feel to have the first episode blow up the way it did? I was super surprised. It went way past my expectations, that's for sure. And I thought I would be like, over the moon, which I was. And then I got like a lot of anxiety and I don't get a lot of anxiety. I tend to be not a very anxious or stressed out person. But I am not very active online in general. As far as like Instagram and Facebook, I don't post anything of my personal life. And then all of a sudden I felt like way too scene, which was like what I signed up for, but when it was actually happening, it was like a whole different thing. And like in the first episode, there was like a few negative comments towards like my design and everything, which is just part of design, so I wasn't too worried about it. But then there was some that was kind of like attacking me, or like saying that there was a whole studio behind this, which like would get me fired up, and I really internalize stuff, so it would just kind of like stick with me the whole day. And then there was so much good stuff that like the whole reason I feel like episode 1 worked was because I finally got to a place where I didn't care so much what people thought, and I was gonna let out some of my sense of humor, which I usually don't do other than to like close friends and family. And so it was I don't know, it was a weird experience, and all the positive stuff was almost so positive. I started feeling this pressure of like, okay, now I gotta like keep doing it at this level, and it almost made me feel like I couldn't just make any mistakes or like create as freely as I was. Because for example, when we did the bike thing, that was like a random idea that we just had, and then we're like, okay, let's just go shoot it. Let's not think about it. Let's not think if it makes sense to put it in. Let's just go film it. And so I started feeling more that pressure to be more like methodical, I guess. But I think I slowly started like, I stepped away from the comments a bit, so apologize if I wasn't super active in the comments, but I think it was just a little better for me to like get grounded again and be like, okay, this is why I started doing this, and it's it worked because I did it this way. So yeah. So now it actually doesn't bother me as much as it did the first time. It was just the first one that it got me like super anxious feeling, but also very excited. I don't want to understate how exciting it was and how happy I was. So
just overwhelming. Overall, just
a little overwhelming.
It's a lot of attention, I guess. Okay, got another donation from. I'm gonna butcher the name.
It's Crochet Animals. That's our cousin.
Oh, okay.
That's Bobby.
Thanks,
Bobby. And we got another one from Open Harder. Oh, is that Open Harder?
Yep.
For $10. So,
yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Ice creams all around.
Mom also says hi. That was a long time ago.
Mom got buried in the comments.
Sorry, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hi. Okay.
Oh, here's a question. A follow-up. How did it feel that the other 2 episodes haven't blown up in the same way? So I got some good advice on those ones, because initially I was a little bummed, especially where Buck's kind of been like supporting me and trying to help me make this thing work, and I felt like I had some pressure to like prove that it was going to work. And then when episode 1 I actually didn't think was gonna blow up. I was like, I don't know if this one's that interesting, but I was like, but episode 2, that's got like some viral potential in it or whatever. And then it like didn't go as much at all, and I was like, and I had to kind of remind myself, I was like, it's only episode 2, and for like only 2 episodes it did extremely well. But I got some good advice from someone that said that the trailers I was posting was hurting my viewership, because the algorithm would see an episode do well, and then I'd post a trailer and it would just see it's another video. It didn't know it was a trailer, and it just saw the viewership went way down. So in the next video it wouldn't like push it out as much. So it's just been a learning process, but overall I have been 100% proud of each episode, so I feel like it'll find its audience eventually. I'm not too worried about it.
All right. What is your process, workflow for a video, beginning to end?
Okay.
Kind of walk us through.
This is going to be extremely disappointing for you, most likely. So, in other personal projects I've done, I tend to really overthink things and sort of think things to death a lot of the time. And I think it's because I'm kind of a perfectionist. I want things to be just right, and I want it to be, especially if I'm taking on the whole project, I really want it to represent the best of my abilities. So in the past, I would like come up with an idea, and I'd think about it, and I'd think about it, and I'd plan for it, and I'd plan for it. And I do that for so long that my interest in it would just kind of eventually die before I even started doing it. So for this project, my whole goal was like, don't think about it, just do it. If I have a thought and I think it's funny, just try it. If I think an idea is going to be cool, just go and do it. Which has given me a whole lot of footage I haven't used, but it's allowed me to not think so hard about things and just go and do and try. So I don't write any storyboards. In the first episode, I hardly even had much of a basic plan. Like I said, one of the first things we shot was the bike scene because we thought of it and we just went and shot it. And most of the time, eventually I'll get a rough idea of like, okay, this is how the story will go. We'll, open this way. We got to like introduce the idea. Then we got to go over to the sandwich shop and check it out. And then we got to, design the stuff and then reveal. And so I'll slowly get some ideas around each section. And most of the time it's in the edit. I'll kind of figure things out, which is not the best way to do things, but it was a good way to be creative because we get on, in a location where we want to shoot, and we would just start trying out different shots. We didn't have a super specific shot list. So that was kind of how episode 1 went, and it took a really long time, but we learned a lot about, how to get the most out of our creativity, I think. Not out of our production, but out of our creativity. So now we're slowly getting more into where we're trying to like, okay, maybe we need to start coming up with more of a storyboard, more of a shot list. One thing I will say about me, and I don't know how everybody else is out there who's an editor, but if I have a piece of music, I can envision what the shots should look like and everything, and I can figure out the pacing.
Here's a question about that, actually.
Okay.
So it says episode 1 had music that fit perfectly. Made me look it up. Sweet Ever After. They really like that song.
Mm.
How did you find that track to pair with the mood of breaking free, and just I guess talk about?
I mean, how did I find it's kind of a hard question. It's just searching through a lot, but a lot of the time I know the mood I'm going for, and I'll just search through those music sites forever till I find something that just fits the right mood. I think again that's just more intuition than anything. There's no real good formula, other than if you love music. There might be other people like this where you hear a song and you can kind of imagine this like music video in your head. That's definitely how I am, and so every now and again as I'm scrolling, I'll hit a song and I can kind of just imagine these shots in my head, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I feel like that one, that's the one, or whatever. But I do feel like as we move forward and we try to create a process, a lot of that will be finding the tracks ahead of time, laying down voiceover ahead of time, and then I think I'll sort of visualize the shots as we go. But I always want to make sure there's room to experiment and to try, because some of my favorite things when me and Jared go out and we're just trying to think of how to do the most interesting shot to show something, and that's part of the fun, I think.
Yeah, I think music is kind of a big part of our process. So, and maybe it's because we did
music videos as
that's
kids. Like all we know, I guess.
So it seems like when we were making videos with our cousins, it's like we almost always like started with finding a song, and then the ideas would kind of come. So I don't know if that's influenced us a lot as far as how we kind of build scenes and how we kind of, I don't know. At least it does for me.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you have a date set for the next episode premiere?
Yes, I was just checking what time. We do. We were going to announce it at the end of this, but I guess now is as good a time as any since the question came up. But episode 4, which is we're calling this season 1, I guess. It's sort of like the season finale episode. Double check with Goody to make sure I got the date right.
We don't even know the date.
I think it's July 30th. which is my
Should be
birthday.
your birthday, right?
Okay, yeah, just got confirmation. That's when we were planning to do it. So
Okay.
July 30th, which is my birthday, which just kind of landed at the same time. We were like, all right, we'll just make it a big birthday present, and we'll finish off this first season. So that's when it's set. I'm still like finishing up the last little bit, so hopefully we can stick to that. But mark your calendars. Devin's birthday. Give him the present of watching and sharing episode 4, and you won't regret it. It's a doozy. So we all get the presents, but yes, you get the present of watching, and I get the present of knowing you watched it. So
Okay. Well, I think we probably need to wrap it up soon. Do we want to take any last questions?
I mean, how long have we been going?
45 minutes.
Okay, we can round it out to the full hour, I guess. And
Okay. All right, let's see. I think I missed a couple.
There was another question. I can't remember what it was now. It was concerning if we were going to do like tutorials and things like that. Because I have had a lot of people reach out about design tutorials and things like that, which again, that's kind of where my mindset first started with this thing. So there is still some interest of like education to some aspect, but it'll probably be sometime in the future if we ever do it, because I want to do it right. I want to do it to where it's, offering something new and exciting and entertaining, and not just another design tutorial to add to the masses of them all. But we have talked about trying to start a Patreon for those who want to support the channel, so we can hopefully get this thing moving a little bit more, and trying to provide some behind the scenes of how we do some of our shots. Because I don't know who grew up watching Lord of the Rings and stuff, but that was a big inspiration for me and Jared growing up, is watching the extended version, like special features, and seeing all the behind the scenes. Like, I don't think there's anything that crazy with what we do, but for anyone who's just like getting started, it kind of helps demystify things a bit. Like when you see, oh, that's how they made that scene. It's just a bunch of these like miniatures. Not that I can make a miniature like they do, but just seeing how it's done, it's like, okay, well, now I know how it's done. At least I can do that to some scale. So that's something that we talked about trying to provide for anyone who's like interested. It just makes things feel a little more tangible. And someone might look at what we do and be like, it's like, it feels very high production, and you'll be very surprised at how low production a lot of things are, and it is kind of held together with like duct tape and gum and stuff like that. So, like, for example, we had someone ask us if I thought this seemed obvious, and maybe it was to most people, but the whole hair scene where like the yarn was coming out of the drains and down the hallway, and they asked if that was done with like 3D, and it definitely wasn't. We tried to find the easiest way to do that, which was just taking the yarn and pulling it backwards and then reversing the footage so it looked like it was crawling out. And we just did the same thing with when it comes out of the drain of the sink. I had to actually unhook our piping so I could pull the hair through the drain, and then we just reversed it so it kind of came out. We did have to do stop motion on the one coming out of the tub because I couldn't get to the plumbing there, but nor should I have tried to, because I'm not a plumber.
Probably would have wrecked your pipes and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a donation from Last Relic, $20.
Ooh.
And they are
Out for dinner tonight, not just ice cream.
and they want merch, so
Okay.
merch.
Merch is coming. Stay patient. But yes.
Okay. How do you utilize AI when you design and create content, or do you?
That's a good question. As of right now, I don't utilize it, other than sometimes if I'm trying to come up with my voiceover stuff, like my script, sometimes I'll get stuck on, like, I'll write something and I'll just get the thing that I said so stuck in my mind. So sometimes I'll hop on ChatGPT and be like, help me like reword this in a few different ways, and then it'll come up with a bunch of stuff. Most of it's not great. Some of it's like good, and I'll be like, oh, I didn't think of that word or whatever, and then rarely will I use anything that it says exactly, but it helps me at least like break out of the things I've already been thinking of and be like, oh, that's a good different way to phrase what I was trying to say or whatever. So that's probably like the most I use it, other than every now and again, if I shot something too close and I needed it to be wider, I'll hop into Photoshop and try to like extend the background and everything. But I'm not against the use of AI. I enjoy doing the creative stuff myself, and so I don't necessarily want to give that job to AI quite yet. But I know there was a question asking about AI in the future of AI and everything, especially when it comes to graphic design and things like that. And I mean, I don't know why I brought this up because I don't have a good answer for AI, but I am an optimist, and I do feel I pay attention to how I feel about things and realize that a lot of people probably feel the same way. I know when I'm scrolling through and I see something that AI made, it's a novelty and it's interesting, but I don't get super excited about it. Like if I see an AI artwork, it's just kind of like, oh, okay. And I think part of that is when I see another human make something, I put myself in their shoes because we're both humans and we both have the same limitations as humans. And so when I see someone draw something, I'm like, oh man, how did they do that? Like I'd imagine, like, how would I have done that? Because I see them doing that. And I think there's something to say there as far as when it comes to artwork and storytelling and how we enjoy it. I wouldn't want to watch a bunch of robots play basketball, but I like watching humans do it because I can like compare myself to other humans and be like, oh man, it's amazing that they can do that. So I do have optimism that there will always be a place for human creativity, for our point of views. I'm not really interested in an AI point of view. A lot of people probably will be, but I think there will always be people who I'd rather hear from another human's experience. So thank you, Raul. Looks like you're heading out, or maybe we're heading out. I don't know. Either way, it says before we all go. Much love. So thank you so much, everybody, for hopping on this quick Q&A. I wish I could always get to everybody's messages and emails, and I've done my best. I'm gonna try to take a day and catch up to the ones I haven't got to. But again, I can't understate how much it means. Like, it's not just numbers to me. I realize there's like real people out there taking time to watch our videos and sitting down on their couch even, which is like, whoa, we watching it on your TV. What an honor. So I just want to recognize everybody who's supported the channel thus far, and I hope in the future we'll give more opportunities to like build a community and even give opportunities to highlight other artists and other creatives. That's one thing I want to do looking towards the future of SuprOrdinary. A lot of season 1 was me kind of telling my story and being a bit of a diary for what was going on in my head. But one thing I realized after starting the series is there's a whole lot of us that feel the same way, that feel stuck, that have creative ambition and they don't know what to do with it. So I want to find a way to support other artists and those who might not be getting the light and attention that they might deserve, because getting online is not an easy thing to do, and it's not easy to you can be the most talented person, but it's hard to sometimes get people to see that. So I kind of want to be a way to help other people find that a bit. So
okay. Let's see. It seems like we have a lot of people that are interested in merch. So in the chat, tell us, and we're open to ideas as far as we're still kind of deciding what kind of merch we're going to be doing.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So put it in the chat, like, what's your opinion? If
shirts,
if you want
hoodies,
shirts.
hats, underwear, I don't know what other socks, other articles of clothing, or what other kind of merch there is out there.
Yeah.
But we're looking to you guys just as much for ideas for how to like make this thing more than it is. So, and that also goes for if we were to ever start a Patreon, if that is interesting to anybody. If not, then we won't bother. But if it is, what kind of things would you want to see on there? Would it be primarily behind the scenes? Would it be tutorial type stuff? What kind of things would you guys find value from? So, or would it be stuff like this, like having more Q&As and maybe smaller settings where we could actually maybe chat more, not face to face, but camera to camera kind of stuff? I don't know. Tattoos, nice. Do little peel and stick ones.
All right, let's combine these two questions. So this one says, I'm a local, so I love our town and area. That's Logan. Come to live through your videos. Do you plan on still doing branding stuff for businesses?
There'll be one here and there. I think after the first episode launched, a lot of people thought that's what this series was that we were just going to be going to a bunch of businesses and rebranding. I will say for sure, the two things I always want to touch on in SuprOrdinary episodes is one, the exploration part of it. So taking the ordinary objects, the mundane objects, the unconventional materials, and creating something out of it, because it's fun to see and it's fun to make. And then there's always going to be a part of using creativity to do good or to make a difference in a community or something like that. So if any of you see an opportunity for that or know of a community or a person or anything like that we could make an episode about, feel free to email us because we're always looking for those opportunities.
Okay. I'm about to make a short documentary. What advice can you give for somebody making a documentary?
I've never made a documentary, so I don't know if I'm the best person to ask. I think probably just what I said earlier. I don't know if you've made anything before or if this is the first time you've tried something, but start with what's feels like is in reach and just keep making sure you're taking a step every day. Don't overthink it. Don't overplan it, because then you'll just never do it. So decide what shots are the most doable and start with those shots, and then just keep the momentum going. So let us know when it's out so we can be the first to watch it.
Yeah. That's good advice. All right. Where do you suggest people with no experience with filmmaking to begin learning filmmaking?
I don't know anything about filmmaking, guys. But I do think the experience we had as kids was like the best school for us. You can go online and you can learn filmmaking and all that stuff. We didn't do that. We took a camera, we went out, and I even think it's valuable to make stuff without showing it. I know a lot of people say, just post, just publish. But I think there is some value to making something knowing you're not going to show anybody, because it allows you to discover what it is you really want to make and how you want to make it without the pressure of an audience yet. So I feel like that experience for us as kids was extremely valuable, and I feel like it's still probably valuable today as well.
Cool. All right, this will probably be our last question since we are at the hour mark. So thanks everybody for your questions. I hope we got through most of them, but I'm sure we missed a couple, and yeah, we're sorry.
We'll try to do these again, and we'll have the wheel of silence, but luckily it doesn't seem like we would have got to it. Maybe we'll come up with a different wheel of some kind. Maybe every time someone donates, we'll make Jared do something or draw something. It'll be the wheel of shame.
Okay. All right, so the last question is the rock still there, or did you dismantle it?
That's a good question. The rock is still there. There was a part of me that was like, should we dismantle it? But no, we left it up. So if you know where it is, you could still see it. I think all the ants that got their rocks moved found new homes under the rock's face, I'm sure. So yep.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to wrap it up. So episode 4. Remember, episode 4 is coming out
July 30th.
right. Yes.
Yes. My birthday. So
Yep.
again, if you want to give me a birthday present, even if you don't, just go watch it because it'll be worth it. Promise. It's a doozy. It took a lot of effort, and I'm excited to show everybody it because I've been holding it in, and I can't wait to just have it all out there. So
It's really cool. Won't disappoint. So
okay, thanks again everybody for hopping on. You all are amazing. Again, we'll try to do another one of these again. So if we had outro music, now is the time we'd play it, but since we don't, outro, super ordinary.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye guys.